Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Almost evening for some, but good afternoon, everyone. Hello, 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 hello. I'm so glad you guys could join me today. So, I am live on every platform right now. I'm live on the Black Conservative Preacher. I'm live on the BC Preacher. I'm also live on the BC Preacher Facebook page. What we're gonna do, I'm gonna cut those off. I'm gonna cut all of them off except uh, the BC Preacher Facebook page for now. If you want to jump on to FranklyJamee, I posted the links in the chats and Facebook. If you want to go over to Facebook, the chat or the link for the Facebook, FranklyJamee Facebook, you can just find me under FranklyJamee, basically on anything. And then also I posted the link for the YouTube if you want to do the YouTube FranklyJamee. So I'm going to give a few minutes for that to take place for those who want to jump over to the other pages, because I can't keep them all running at the same time because the platforms get irritated when all of those are running. So I'll give everybody a few minutes to do that. If you want to jump over onto FranklyJamee pages. So good to see you guys this afternoon. I hope you're all doing well. It's actually a fairly nice day around here in Oregon for a fall day. I remember the days where I used to do nothing but rain for a good eight months out of the year. Cats out of the bag. Things have changed around here. It doesn't do that anymore. It's actually a fairly nice day, but it is pretty cold. So, hello, Roxanne, Vicky, Fort Worth, Texas. Wendy, thank you for joining me. Darlene, Melinda, Mike, good to see you guys. Josh, no, we're not on at the same time, Josh. I am on all of his platforms right now. I'm going to be shutting the Black Conservative Preacher and the BC Preacher YouTube pages down in just a few minutes. Longview, Texas. Hey, June, Mark, North Carolina, awesome. Hey, Linda, Freedom Rose, good to see you guys. Gaius Khan, happy Friday. Anna, Nana, Kara, Illinois, Pekka Tonica. I have never heard of that city. Is it small? um, let's see here. Anna, Jessica, Debbie, Jane, Steph, Cheryl. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad you were able to join me today. Arkansas. That's super awesome. Canby, Oregon. The local. Jim, good to see you. Brian, good to see you. Jessica. Okay, so I am going to be shutting down the Black Conservative Preacher YouTube and the BC Preacher YouTube. If you want to go over to FranklyJamee pages, that would be great. Today, we are going to be talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial and what's been going on this week. So I know there has been a lot going on this week. Started November 29th. Monday, November 29th, this trial started, followed by the Kim Porter trial. Thank you, dear. Nothing like a mail delivery. You want to say hi? Hi. Hi. Yeah. Say hi. Hi. Okay, so this is my mini me. I think it's Quincy's mini me, but he has kind of morphed into my little face there, and also my little attitude. So there's that. The other things that started this week, so the Kim Porter, the officer who shot and killed Dante Wright, she said that she thought she was holding her taser. That trial started this week. And also Juicy Smollett or whatever his name is. I don't know. The actor guy who set up and faked a hate crime. I mean, Trump derangement syndrome is so real. Like, I feel like that's a syndrome that needs to be entered into the medical book of mental illness, because that is such a crazy thing. It's serious. Trump derangement syndrome. This guy literally set up a hate crime, or set up what he wanted to look like a hate crime. Said that some white MAGA guys beat him up and poured stuff on him, and come to find out during the trial, it was all set up. You know, he hired these two brothers to pour gasoline on him and beat him up and wear a MAGA hat. So, anyways, that happened, and but one of the biggest things to take place. Oh, we also heard the oral arguments for Mississippi challenging the Roe versus Wade and Casey versus Planned Parenthood to the Supreme Court, which was really exciting. Got to hear that. Now, the verdict won't come back on that until next year, I believe, in May, like early summer, possibly late spring. I'm not sure what takes so long, and I'm not sure we'll hear from them again. Now, they said that the court was adjourned until Monday, but I think they were just talking about we'll have a new case on Monday. I don't think we're going to hear from them again. I'm not exactly sure how that all works, but if they do, I do want to cover that live. It was pretty interesting, and it sounded to me like the Supreme Court justices do take this very seriously. It's not something that they decide. These aren't decisions that they decide just on a whim because, you know, one side likes it or one side doesn't or whatever. They sounded to me like they were very interested in getting the facts, each side, what they thought, what they believed, and also making sound decisions, what they believe is right. And we actually may see Roe and Casey overturned, you know, so this could happen. Okay, so let's see here. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm going to jump in here in just a second. I'm going to post these links one more time, and then I'm going to go ahead and shut down those two. Let's see. Copy that. I'm going to shut down those two YouTube pages. Okay, so I am live on the Black Conservative Preacher YouTube page and also the BC Preacher YouTube page, and I'm going to shut those down. If you want to go ahead and jump over onto the FranklyJamee YouTube page, I'm posting these links. I'm posting the link in the chat for you guys. All right. Go ahead and shut those down. If you are on the Black Conservative YouTube page, dear, what are you doing? Okay, we're not doing that right now. And the BC Preacher YouTube page, I posted the link for you to go ahead and jump onto the FranklyJamee page. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I am live over there, same feed. Okay. So, like I said, Monday we saw the Ghislaine Maxwell trial get started, and there have been some pretty interesting things coming out of there. And I think we all knew that this was going to be pretty interesting, but since it's a federal trial, there is no live video footage, and really, it doesn't matter what trial it is. If the judge decides it's a no, then it's a no. We saw in the Rittenhouse trial that the judge agreed to have it televised, but he did say, a week or two in, that he probably wouldn't do that again because of all of the chaos that was going on surrounding it. People following the jurors and taking pictures of them, and it was just causing a lot of issues. So some judges, probably just don't want to deal with the drama of it. So started Monday, November 29th, and it's at the Thurgood Marshall Courthouse in New York City is where it's taking place. So there's no camera footage allowed inside the courtroom, but what they can do is some media and public can sit on the outside and watch, I think, on like some screens on what's going on inside, and then give updates. So if you're following along on any of the Twitter pages or catching up with articles and updates like that, then this probably isn't going to be any news to you. But for those who don't, because it is a lot to follow, we're just kind of going to go through some of the things that have come out in court. Uh, let's see. A woman. Okay, so this is the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, who is charged with let me grab those real quick. She's got 8 charges against her. She was the girlfriend of Jeffrey Epstein for a while there. And she's being charged with conspiracy to entice minors. Let's see here. This woman is really, really crazy. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot here, and I just want to make sure. What in the world? Where is the thing? Okay, maybe that's a different day. I guess. Okay, so she's being charged with conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. So this is a whole sex trafficking case that we have here. Enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. So conspiracy to entice and actual enticement. Conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. Sex trafficking conspiracy and sex trafficking a minor, and there are two more charges that have to do with perjury, which will be in a separate trial. So she's currently being held in jail without bail, and that's not super surprising considering this woman is pretty rich. The court, there were some updates about what her worth is, but you know she was living on an $80,000 a year trust from her dad on top of any on top of the money that she's made in whatever path of life she's chosen, which sounds like sex trafficking, which is totally detestable. So the fact that her bail has been denied is not surprising. She is currently holds citizenship in 3 places. So she's a U.S. citizen, she's a British citizen, and she's a French citizen. So this woman, you know, as soon as they let her go, she's probably out of here. It's not super surprising. And I'm not sure if there's extradition. One second, the husband is calling. Hello? Hi. I'm live. Okay. Okay, bye. Um, just one second. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, please pause me for 1 second. I will be back in 2 minutes. Okay, sorry about that. The husband called and said he's gonna be stopping by from work and wanted a plate to go, so I had to make him a plate real quick. Okay, so here we are. We're gonna be going over. We're still going over the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Okay, so it's not surprising that this woman has had her bail denied because she's going to be a complete flight risk, right? Let's see. So she, if anybody knows, there was a big thing going on a couple years back with Epstein didn't hang himself. So Epstein was actually in jail, and he would have been set to go to trial as well, but out of nowhere, the guy supposedly hangs himself and commits suicide. I think most of us know that this is not what happened, and instead he was likely killed because these types of cases have the potential to reveal really big names and things that these elites are involved in. However, I think we get our hopes up a little more than necessary. For instance, there's a lot of people who think that there's going to be a lot of name dropping in this case, and I would disagree. So far, we've heard some people that have been connected to Epstein being, namely Woody Allen, Chris Tucker, which really surprised me. But he's really not relevant anymore. I think since then he's found the Lord. I'm not really sure. So these are just people who have been connected to him, but we're not exactly sure what they did in connection. However, President Trump was connected, Clinton, and Prince Andrew. So anyone who's unsure of who Prince Andrew is, he is actually the son of Elizabeth and Philip, right? Queen Elizabeth and King Philip, I guess. And then he is ninth in line for the throne. So he really, his heirship, he's got no, he will never be on the throne. I mean, ninth in line is just highly unlikely. So it sounds like this guy really needs some excitement in his life. There's a woman by the name of Virginia Giuffre. She's 38, says that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew. Like, she was taken to Prince Andrew and trafficked. Since then, she's created an organization to help sex trafficking victims. So, these kinds of things may come out. But what's going to happen to Prince Andrew? What's really going to happen to these people? Bill Clinton, what's going to happen to him? Woody Allen. Isn't Woody Allen dead? Chris Tucker. Donald Trump. Now, here's a couple of things. There's been a lot of Trump talk lately regarding, in the last couple of days, obviously, since this came out, regarding his connection to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, this could be any number of things, but what we don't want to do is be offer blind loyalty and completely forget the fact that he has been tied to Jeffrey Epstein in some way. Because you know what? If it was Biden, people would be all up in arms. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people take pictures with a lot of people, especially in these circles. It doesn't mean that they did anything wrong. And there was actually a book written by several journalists that note 15 years ago, Donald Trump actually barred Jeffrey Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago resort for being inappropriate with a girl underage. So, there's a lot of things that have come out since then. People are definitely running with this whole Donald Trump thing. There's pictures of him and Epstein together. I'm not super surprised about that. It looks like this Epstein guy was in a lot of, elite circles with a lot of rich folks, and he got around. I mean, his worth was, I think, $577 million, and we don't even know what happened to his estate and where it went or who has access to it. Apparently, 2 days before he suicided himself, he signed a will and testament. So, these kinds of things get really tricky. So if it was an average trial, like, say, Rittenhouse or the Porter one, the Juicy Smollett or whatever, and a lot of these lower profile trials, I would take things much more seriously. But with these high profile cases, because there's so much corruption, because if we saw the prosecutorial misconduct in a Rittenhouse trial, imagine the types of things that are going on in a really high profile federal case. So I don't think we can get our hopes up that we'll see a bunch of name drops, but I found it really interesting that the victim, Jane, who said that she was introduced to Trump and she later participated in one of his beauty pageants. That is not indicative of any type of sex trafficking or negligence or anything that, went bad, but and I almost feel like, when you think about a name drop, that to me is a name drop, but it's a very strategic name drop, right? So I'm not, like I said, I don't believe in blind loyalty. And although I like people, if credit needs to be given where credit is due, and that means even if it's bad or negative credit. So that's just one thing that has come up. Let's see. Now, Epstein had been a sex offender, he's probably been a sex offender his entire life. But he was a registered sex offender since 2008 when he actually pled guilty to 2 prostitution charges. So he was the John, Again, in 2019, he, 2019, he was arrested for running. So this is what he was, in jail for. He was arrested for running a sex trafficking operation out of his homes in both Manhattan and Palm Beach. So, this guy was not new to this. These weren't his first times. Criminals like this, career criminals, don't get caught the first time. It's long into it for the most part when they finally get caught. So they talked about the Little Black Book. Well, duh. These types of things, a Little Black Book, or for like, gamblers, they have their, oh gosh, the word just slipped my mind. Gamblers, they have, the people who take the bets, they have their, someone chime in. You know the book I'm talking about. It has all the lists of, everything that, I can't think of it. Anyways, so the Little Black Book is not surprising. A bookie. Yeah, it's the bookie, but it's the record that they keep. Okay, so one thing that I thought was really interesting is that Ghislaine has no children. So it's pretty disgusting for people who have children to go out there and they're sex trafficking children, or they're abusing children, or they're molesting children. But we know that a lot of times these kids that endure the trauma of sex trafficking or child molestation is usually a parent first, right? So parents can be very disgusting people. It's either parents or uncles, someone close to them, right? That's usually who is selling these kids into trafficking or molesting them. It's a family thing. It's someone that they know, that they're close to, that they trust, in essence. That's usually how it goes. But this Ghislaine lady, she didn't even have any kids, right? So it's just really interesting that she would spend her life, like what happened in her childhood where, like I said, she was living off an $80,000 per year trust from her dad. What on earth is her dad paying for? Like, I don't know her life story and what that looked like, but what would possess a woman to grow up and groom young girls and sex traffic them, bring them to have grown men and women commit abhorrent acts with them and participate in some of them, because she has been alleged to participate. The victims have actually testified that she was in the room and participated in some of these things. So on the 29th, opening arguments. I think the opening arguments happened. I think it may have been pushed back, delayed for a minute because there were some issues with the jury. When they got that all finished out, settled out, so Tuesday, November 30th, and the first alleged victim testified. She's known as Jane. That is not her real name, but she obviously doesn't want to be known. She was the first of 4 accusers to take the stand on Tuesday. And of course, like I said, Maxwell faces 6 charges of trafficking and abuse. And this is largely regarding her role with Jeffrey Epstein. And because he's dead, she's, a lot of people are actually saying, like her lawyers are saying that she's really being the scapegoat. Well, they shouldn't have murdered Epstein, and if she participated, it's not a scapegoat. She deserves to be held accountable. What are you looking for? Oh, yeah, I don't know. Okay, and she also was in relationship with Epstein for a while. So, let's see here. I think she is currently married to a guy named Scott Borgenson. She has been accused of trying to hide her wealth, because she is actually pretty well off. Jeffrey Epstein was worth about $577 million, and she is pretty high up there as well. Let's see here. If she's convicted of all counts, she could face up to 80 years in prison. And to be honest, guys, I do not know how any jury could not convict this woman. And the charges really aren't. The charges aren't way out there. It's not something that, just the surface of what she's done is enough for me as a jury to be like, guilty, 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 on all 6 charges, all the way guilty. So when we're talking about the notable politicians, billionaires, and celebrities who have been connected to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, we saw a lot of pictures. They were in a lot of the same circles. It doesn't mean that every single person who took a picture with this guy or this woman are guilty of some type of gross sin like sex trafficking. It just means that they were in the same circles. Now, I don't know, because birds of a feather flock together, and I've been a heathen before. I lived a heathen life, and there was a lot of things that were going on that, even though I wasn't always an actual participant, I definitely knew, I had full knowledge of things that were going on. So, and I'm not talking about, well, yeah, pretty gross things I've known in my lifetime to have been happening. Not like anything has to do with child molestation or any type of child trauma like that. That's something, other things. But the thing about it is, if they're all in these celebrity circles, it's like all the people who know Harvey Weinstein. They knew what this guy was doing. They knew what he was like. They knew, you can open that. They knew what was going on with these women, and they didn't say anything. So, and the thing about it is, these people are millionaires and billionaires, and they have the ability to really make change. And that's really loud. Can you take that? Oh. I got my vitamin C in the mail. Got to be taking that vitamin C. Got to get our vitamins in. So the people who are really rich have the most opportunity to make the most change. Really? So, the first victim alleged that when she was 14, she had first had sexual contact with Epstein. when she was questioned more, she said that Ghislaine was actually in the room. So, you know, a lot of the accusation is that this Ghislaine Maxwell would go and find and groom these girls and bring them in to provide massage to these grown men, and then the massage would lead into other things. Let's see. So I talked about the pictures with Jeffrey Epstein and a lot of the elites. The pilot, Vysowski, Epstein's former pilot, actually testified that President Trump was on Epstein's plane. Now, there's a big, this is, you know, a lot of the information that has come out has had a lot to do with the fact, you know, Epstein's Island, for one, that's located in the Virgin Islands. Who owns an island? Raise your hand. Who owns an island? People who don't want you to know or see anything that's going on. And I guess the only access to it was either by boat or plane. And so Epstein's private jet, it was, you know, a big talk. Big talk. Who was on it? Because we know where they were going. And so that's a big deal. Just like the first victim, he also confirmed that Trump, Prince Andrew, and former President Bill Clinton had all flown on it, along with Kevin Spacey, people like Kevin Spacey, who has also been had some harassment cases brought against him, Chris Tucker, and the violinist is Perlman. I'm not exactly sure who that is. I'd have to look him up. But he told the court that he never saw any sexual activity on the flight or any underage girls without their parents. So that's a big deal. Just because you see people on a particular plane doesn't mean that anything bad is going on. The pilot said that he never saw any inappropriate activity going on. Let's see here. What else happened? So this was all from that Tuesday. Let's see. We already went over all of that. Trump only flew from New York to New Jersey. Where is the Oh, are you leaving? Okay, thank you so much, Pam.
Yeah, we'll see you. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Yeah, so see, the flight logs show, I'm seeing some stuff come up here. The flight logs show that Trump never flew to the island. Well, there you go. You know, if the flight logs, and that's what I mean by the record book. So you've got a little black book, you've got flight logs, and you've got the bookie logs, but I can't remember what those are called. But the flight logs are really important. And so yes, I saw a tweet the other day about Trump being on the plane, and he's like, "This is every father's worst nightmare." And I'm thinking, wow, they are really running with this, even though we have seen Biden. The flight logs are saying that Trump didn't even go to the island, right? But we've actually seen Biden sniffing and touching young girls in video and pictures for years now. We've actually seen that. That's absolutely disgusting. We see it with our own eyes, but the media won't run with that. It's just absolutely crazy. Okay, so with the little black book that contained the little black book did contain the contact information for the alleged victims. and it belonged to Maxwell. And she said that Epstein used it. Now, the court's hearing testimony about the book, but they're also trying to decide if the jury can actually see the book, right? Which could be, I don't know. I don't know how many people you really want to be seeing records like that, little black books, all these things. I don't really know, especially if it has very personal or contact information. People are out there committing suicide. I don't think so. I don't think I know anybody who knows as many people as the Clintons do who have committed suicide. That just doesn't make sense. I don't feel like you should know 30 people who have committed suicide. If you know 30 people that commit suicide, you might want to look at the common denominator, and the common denominator might be you. So there's a big issue there. Let's see. The former pilot testified to frequent trips to Epstein's private island. He said that he flew Epstein to his private island at least every 10 days for 20 years when he testified on Tuesday. He claimed that it was not unusual for Maxwell to be in the cockpit and that she flew his helicopters as well. Now, this woman was apparently kind of a Jill of many trades. I mean, not only that, but she invoked a take charge. So later on in the trial, there's a help employee that seemed to have had a pretty good relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, more like a friend relationship, although he was employed by Epstein as the help. But when Maxwell came into the picture, she created a more godlike complex for Epstein, where the help then wasn't even allowed to look him in the eye, and she reportedly told him that he needed to look away while answering his questions and speaking to him, and not to speak if he was spoken to. It was just a lot. So this Epstein, or this Maxwell lady, seems to have really commanded a lot of control, right? And this is not surprising. Of course, that in itself isn't a crime, but obviously it leads to a lot of crimes, as we've seen recently. So the, interestingly enough, Maxwell will turn 60 behind bars because her birthday actually falls on Christmas Day. So she didn't have any kids, as I went through before. The pilot also testified that he was his pilot from 1991 to 2019. So that's a lot of years to work for someone, and you really get in the habit. I don't know if this pilot would withhold any information, considering that Epstein is dead. But after 20 years, you have garnered some level of loyalty to people. And so that's one of the reasons why I say I'm not entirely sure that a whole lot of name dropping will be happening, especially if they're dropping names like Donald Trump when the flight logs already show he didn't even go to the island. So it's not really a name drop. It's a strategically placed name is what it is. It's not, again, Prince Andrew. What's going to happen to this guy? He is considered royalty. He has likely no claim to the throne. He'll never be there. He'll die before that is even a thing, unless every other male in that family is killed and or dies of something. What's going to happen to that guy? Like nothing. I think, isn't Woody Allen dead? I thought let's see. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's not. Sounds like he should be dead by now. No, he's still alive. Criminy. Okay, hold on. He was born in 1935, so he's near death. So what's going to happen to that guy, right? So let's see, 65, 75, 85, 86 years old. What's going to happen to him? Not a whole lot, right? Bill Clinton, obviously nothing happens to the Clintons, even when it should. Nothing's going to happen to him. Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey are super random individuals. Nothing's even going to happen to them. So when it talks about name dropping, I just don't see it that way. I see it more like strategically placed names or very irrelevant names. Not to say they shouldn't be held accountable for their actions, but I've said this before. Justice doesn't really happen here on earth anyway. Justice is going to be at the judgment seat standing before the Lord, right? That's where real judgment's going to take place. I mean, we can see, so if somebody was to kill somebody in my family and they were to be convicted and got the death penalty, that's not really justice, okay? Justice is because that's not going to change. You've heard a lot of people say, they go through the trial, the person is convicted, they get however many, life behind bars or whatever, and the victim's family will say, this isn't going to bring so-and-so back. It is what it is. It's because it's not real justice. I mean, sure, they're being held accountable for their actions and what they did, but that's really not full justice. And that's not going to happen until after this world has passed. Anyway. So, and also we see that because of the class system that we live in, all you have to do is have money to avoid even being held accountable for your actions. I've said this before. A lot of people talk about race and how if they were black, they wouldn't have got off. If they were this, they wouldn't have got off. The thing about it is if you have money, you can get out of anything. And that's all that matters. And all these people who are having their names brought up in this case are super rich. Super rich. All they have to do is buy somebody off. All they have to do is buy somebody off. But if you're an average Joe, like, say, Derek Chauvin or Kim Porter, you don't have that same luxury. You don't have the same luxury to get off of things that you should be held accountable for. Because they should be held accountable for something. I think it was overkill in the Chauvin case, and I think it's going to be overkill in the Porter case. But the point being, if you have money, you can get out of anything. Okay, so let's see. More testimony from. Let's see, happening. So we talked about what's been going on is the whole massage thing. That was kind of the front was bringing these girls in to be professional massage people, masseuses or whatever. But these are underage girls, and if a grown man wants a massage, he needs to go to a regular massage person or hire an actual adult professional massage person. You don't bring in underage children, right? Because then they were being exploited and abused. And Maxwell would groom the girls, so that's what's alleged. The defendant is said to have walked the girls into rooms where she knew that the men would molest them. So I think that is part of the charge of conspiracy to traffic them. Because she knew what was going on, right? And sometimes she was in the room making it feel all normal and casual. Can you imagine? Oh my gosh, can you imagine? So there's been some talk during this trial as well that because it's been so long, so these girls are adults now, and they're saying because it's been so long, they've had time to make up memories and have too much outside influence. And I think that is just plain disgusting that people would take such a traumatic incident on a girl who is so young that they would accuse them of lying. Now, we saw in the Brett Kavanaugh when he was going to be, when he was chosen by Trump as a Supreme Court justice. I forgot the name of the process. The confirmation. He was getting ready. He was trying to be confirmed, and then that Christine lady came forward and accused him of doing something back when they were in college or whatnot. I don't believe any of them were underage, but also it came out that she was lying, right? So there was proof that she was lying. I have a hard time when people are saying that young girls that, so I guess the age of consent in some of these states is 17. And I don't know if I fully agree with that. But we're not even talking about that. We're talking about girls who are 13 and 14. 12, 13, 14 years old. There's no age of consent. There's no such thing as a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl, 15-year-old girl, 16-year-old girl consenting to sexual relations with a 50, 60, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old man. That's just not a thing. So I just don't know, unless this jury is super bought off. Like, if they are to find her not guilty, this is the kind of case that you rise up and say something's not right. Because what jury, what panel of moms and dads is going to find favor with a woman who does this? That's just so despicable. That's a jury, that's a case that's a broken system right there. That's a system where people were paid off, people were bought, and people were intimidated to beyond just taking pictures of them following the bus. We're talking intimidation of their family and their lives on a whole new scale. And these things really do happen. I mean, I wasn't really joking earlier when I said nobody should know somebody who's 35 people who have committed suicide. To know somebody, to know one or two people that's happened to, okay. I'm sure there's going to be some rare cases out there when there's a few more than that. But to know 30 people who have committed suicide that you were actually acquaintances with, friends with, something is seriously wrong with that. So that is a system that is super broken, and that's not a white supremacy system. That's a class system. That's the elites, the rich people, getting rid of the average Joes and Janes. That's what that is, right? They prey on vulnerable young girls. And this is what Ghislaine Maxwell did. She was super rich. She preyed on vulnerable young girls. Not because she's a white woman. That's not why she did it. It had nothing to do with that. It's because she was a rich woman. She preyed on vulnerable young girls. She manipulated them into serving these rich men and women to be sexually abused. And she knew exactly what was going on. She was part of the process. She was part of making this happen. She was part of causing the trauma in these girls' lives that will go on with them until they pass away from this earth. And I pray the Lord that they would find the Lord and find real healing from all this. But this is serious. It's devastating that this is what's going on in our world today. But the truth of the matter is, 800,000 kids plus go missing per year. The kids are being sacrificed to this line of work, this demand for a fulfillment of wicked lusts and fetishes. And it has to do with young children. And we saw in Colorado that professor who's now trying to get it so that pedophiles aren't called pedophiles anymore, right? Minor attracted people. We've been saying this for years. It's so weird. It's so weird. It's not weird. It's comical. It's almost comical. It's disgusting and comical all at the same time. That several years back when we were talking about if a certain marriage gets passed, pedophilia will soon be the next thing on the docket to become legal. And what do you know? We've literally got college professors talking about how pedophiles should no longer even be called pedophiles anymore. That's not a conspiracy, folks. Those are the previews of what's to come. That's what was happening. Everything is coming true. This is despicable. This is disgusting. These people are criminals. Absolute criminals. And they're rich people. And I'm not saying all rich people are evil. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying these elites who hold the top 1% of our wealth in this country, which we just saw a huge shift take place right before our eyes last year in 2020. Make no mistake, do not forget that 2020 was the biggest wealth shift that has ever happened in the history of humankind. Last year, that's what took place as corporations were thriving. They were thriving in the middle of a mass pandemic. They were thriving. Well, the small people, the little guys, the average Joes and Janes, the moms and pops, the people who have worked their fingers to the bone to build something, their stuff was just being closed down. I was watching a show the other day. It was a cooking show. This woman said that her and her husband had finally built their dream restaurant. It was super awesome. It was something about a lobster. I can't remember exactly what it was called. It was all up and running. And then last year, the governor shut it down. And she said the governor just never let us reopen again. And so it was all gone. Just gone. And if you've ever tried to start a brick and mortar business, it's no joke. It's absolutely no joke. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money. And that's why it's really beneficial to try and build an online business, because you got a lot less overhead. Like, you don't have to put in as much money up front to build an online business. But a lot of these people just lost their stuff. And meanwhile, the corporations were thriving. This is what's happening. And meanwhile, things like sex trafficking and child labor are also thriving. Because if you have children, so I was actually doing some research not too long ago about the history of mandatory compulsory education. And come to find, in the 1600s, one of the main reasons that school was made mandatory was to stop child slave labor, right? Which, okay, that's good, right? But if you have 800,000 kids going missing per year, they are not all dead. There's not 800,000 kids per year just being murdered off the street. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they're being stolen. So then there's no more record of them. So then they can just use them for whatever they want. And again, these are, elite people who are doing these kinds of things. There was a pretty disgusting thing that happened in opening arguments where Maxwell, Ghislaine's lawyer, attempted to use the Bible as a defense, saying that ever since Eve was accused of tempting Adam with the apple, women have been blamed for the bad behavior of men, and women are often vilified and punished more than men are. Here's the problem I have with that. She was part of it. So although Jeffrey Epstein should be here on trial, being held accountable for his actions, he was killed off. Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself. Someone else did. And so she's not being punished more unless you consider suicide a lesser charge, or not suicide, but murder a lesser punishment, because I'm sure that somebody out there wouldn't mind getting rid of her either. But she's being checked on every 15 minutes while in jail to ensure she doesn't suicide herself. He did not. He would be in the same boat. But if she participated with these grotesque things, she deserves to be held accountable. They're not for the things that Jeffrey did. They're for the things that she did. So that is the defense that her lawyers are trying to use. I feel like I hear a "don't be a binger" coming on. Like, her lawyer sounds like a full-fledged binger. And he needs to stop being a binger, because that is nonsense. Let's see. They're outside of the courtroom. There are people saying that Epstein didn't kill himself, but he was, in fact, a convicted pedophile. So let's not forget that. And the fact that he actually pleaded guilty to the charges says a lot. He pleaded guilty to being a pedophile, and he continued on living his life of sex trafficking and pedophilia because he had the money to do it. Right? So that's just super crazy. So the jury is made up of 7 women and 5 men in this trial. I don't think Maxwell is going to fare well with 7 men or 7 women on the jury. Let's see here. Don't 1 million Americans go missing every year? Yeah, my data is several years old, and the 800,000 was just kids. So it could be, the numbers could definitely be different today. I pray she stays in prison for the rest of her life along with the others. Yeah. Unfortunately, we're not going to see Biden and Clinton and Prince Andrew, Woody Allen, Chris Tucker, Kevin Spacey. We're not going to see all of them spending the rest of their life in jail. We're not going to see that. You know? That's just crazy. Let's see. What else happened? So this was all just one day. What else happened on the victim number 3, one of the accusers, is understood to be a British woman who claims she was groomed by Maxwell in London in 1994. So one of the things about Maxwell having a tri-citizenship, she's a citizen in the U.S., she's a citizen in Britain, and she's a citizen in France. She has a French citizenship. That gives her access to quite a bit of people. Legally, just being able to roam about the planet. Pretty gross. She was grooming people in London, and was alleged to have been abused by Epstein at his Zorro Ranch in New Mexico. So you've got Maxwell, who has tri-citizenship. She can go wherever she wants on the planet, right? And then you've got Epstein, who's just got sex trafficking homes scattered throughout the states. And I've said this 100 times. The U.S. has one of the top consumers, are the top consumers. I'm talking about U.S. citizens are one of the top consumers of the sex trafficking trade. So you've got people like Jeffrey Epstein, who has a sex trafficking ranch, whatever, in Manhattan, in Palm Beach, and in New Mexico. Those are just 3 that we know of. So he's got East, he's got Southeast, he's got Midwest, South Midwest there. Who knows where his other homes were that were being used for the sex trafficking things, you know? Pretty disgusting. So on December 1st, one of the alleged victims says that she was actually on a flight with Prince Andrew. The one testifying is Jane. She was on the stand for quite some time. The second time, she said it was twice, and that the Duke of York had been dragged into the sex abuse trial of his old friend, Maxwell, but there were no allegations of improper behavior by Andrew. So again, this goes on to what I was saying before, is they're strategically placed names, not necessarily name dropping of anybody who did anything wrong. So we've got these victims who are saying, yeah, you know, I saw Prince Andrew and I saw Donald Trump and I saw these other people. You know, I was introduced to these people. Okay, but who are the people who actually did bad things to you? Who are those people? What are their names? How come their names aren't being mentioned? That is name dropping, folks. That is name dropping. I was abused. These are the people who abused me. I do not care about all the people who did not abuse you. I don't care if you saw them in the car. I don't care if you saw them in the driveway or at the barbecue. I don't care if you saw them on the plane or on the island. I don't care if they were dancing with somebody. I don't even care if they danced with Maxwell. Who were the actual people who hurt you, who abused you? I want to know who those people are. It makes no sense to drop a bunch of names of people that didn't do anything to you. What is the point in that other than to distract us and cause issue with specific people, right? Because part of the reason why I say that Donald Trump's name is being strategically placed is because we've still got an election coming up, people. An election is still coming up. 2024. And they are doing everything they can. Don't you know that January 6th, there's still going to be another thing going on regarding January 6th in 2022? Another trial of some sort, another big ordeal going on regarding January 6th in 2022. The reason why is because there's another election coming on. And they're going to try and do everything they can leading up to that election to prevent, if Trump was to run, to prevent him from winning. They do not want that to happen. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? Can you imagine if Trump was to get back into office after this horrific 4 years? Can you imagine? Oh, so yeah, his name is definitely being strategically placed in this trial, and it absolutely makes. I don't care. I don't care about the people who didn't do anything. I want to know about the people who did do something. Let's see. Let's go, Brandon. A lot of Trump talk on December 1st. Let's see. A lot of talk about Ghislaine being married and hiding her marriage. Which I don't know if that is relevant. So far, it seems like this whole trial is just really, I don't know. It's kind of I don't know. It's like, it's hard because we're getting updates from people who are watching it. So we're getting their perspective. And can you imagine if we had just been getting updates from somebody's perspective watching Binger direct examine and cross-examine his witnesses and Kyle Rittenhouse? Can you imagine 2.5 hours of getting just kind of text updates of what it was listening to Binger? That's almost what I feel like this is. It's just a mass, boring, chaotic, all-in-one, wrapped up together trial that doesn't make sense so far. One occasion, the alleged victim says that she watched as Epstein fondled himself and Ghislaine rubbed and kissed him. She was very casual, like this was entirely normal. But she was 14. And so, you know, one of the things about kind of, let's see, I'd say a decade or so ago, it was a different time. It was a different time. I don't think sex was on the mind of as many teenagers then as it is now. Now it's kind of like woven into everything. It's in the music, it's in the entertainment, it's in TV shows, it's in commercials, it's in movies, it's in school, it's in books and magazines, and it's woven into everything. And I don't think that it was the same time then as it is now. Really? What? Huh? No, not right now. So that's kind of a interesting. In another instance, she says that she claimed on one occasion she saw Maxwell and 4 other women topless by a pool, and she was brought up to Epstein's bedroom at his mansion in Palm Beach. She said they moved her over to the bed and took their clothes off. It's really odd because a lot of her. Okay, Noah, will you please stop? What are you doing? A lot of her language is kind of them. The way that she explains it is them doing the things to her. Like she says, they moved her to the bed. So she's 14 years old. Like, are they picking her up and moving her? Are they just kind of guiding her to that? And she's very uncomfortable, and they take her clothes off. I mean, this is just a really odd turn of events, right? This is very, very unnerving that these kinds of things are happening. This is just one person that we're hearing from. Can you imagine how many people were out there actually being affected by this? You know, she wasn't the only girl. She's just one of 4 who have come forward. You know, she says that she was frozen in fear. She had never seen the genitals of a man before. I mean, this is very, very horrible. It's very horrible. So there was a lot of testimony from the victim on December 2nd. Then there was a housekeeper who testified that I was talking about earlier, who lived at the mansion and told the court that Maxwell would sleep in the pedophile's bedroom. Oh my gosh, that is so hilarious that that's actually what they're calling him. In the pedophile's bedroom when she stayed at the Florida home. He said that the Brit once handed him a 58-page booklet with a checklist detailing the tasks he was to carry out, like to maintain the house. The court was told that the book included the instruction, see nothing, say nothing. It also said, do not discuss your personal problems with guests and respect their privacy. So here, Maxwell, I told you she was kind of a woman who kind of claimed proclaimed control. You know, she took control. And here she is. She's like, have you ever heard of a madam? So it's like it's a prostitution type house, and the leader of it is actually a woman. It's not what most people would say, you know, a man is a pimp, but a woman who leads these types of things are more of a madam, right? And so it's like Maxwell took on that role of being the madam over this thing, and she's telling this housekeeper that he is to see nothing, say nothing, and that he's not to get close or have conversations with the guests. Well, obviously not, because if the guests are elites and then the guests are also these very young girls, you know, you open the door to having one of these young girls tell him what's going on. It was supposed to be blind. He said that he was supposed to, in essence, be blind and deaf and to say nothing about anything that maybe he saw or he heard. Maxwell also told him not to look into Epstein's eyes. And he moved to Florida from Ecuador in 1984. And this was his answers to how things changed when Maxwell became involved with Epstein. And so these are pretty big changes. These aren't, you know, did he need, I don't know, did Epstein need someone to garner more organization over this whole process? They say women are typically more organized. It's pretty disgusting that this is how this would go, right? So this is what we heard on December 2nd. And they talked about the Lolita Express, of course. Kevin Spacey brought that up before, flew to Africa on the Lolita Express in 2002 as part of a project to raise awareness on the AIDS crisis and poverty. Comedian Chris Tucker was also part of the group, including Clinton and Spacey, who flew to Africa on a 5-day humanitarian trip in 2002. Okay, Naomi Campbell also traveled on the Epstein plane in 2002. Epstein's lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, took trips on the jet in the late 1990s. The flight records show. But again, these are all like, these are not name drops. Nothing happened with these people. All they did was go to Africa for a AIDS campaign. Of all these flight logs, why do we need the ones? Why are we talking about the people who went to Africa and not talking about the people who went to Virgin Islands? This is a complete joke. This whole entire trial so far is a complete joke. Right? I mean, it just is almost pointless. That's why I'm saying that the jury, if they were to not see, what's her name? Maxwell as completely guilty of the things that she's charged for, conspiracy to sex trafficking, enticing to trafficking, they have been manipulated in ways that we don't have the ability to fully understand. So, this is just crazy. This is just crazy. She's one very messed up, spoiled little girl in a woman's body. I would have to agree with that, Dan. Just super, super disgusting. Something is definitely wrong with her. Stockholm Syndrome, absolutely. Is it USA for Africa or Aid for Africa? I'm not sure. It was an AIDS, like a war on AIDS and poverty, because I think AIDS is extremely popular out there and they don't have the same type of treatment that we have here for AIDS. I think that was it. Did MJ fly on it? I don't know. 27 times Bill Clinton flew with him. They will avoid that. Yeah. And we all know that Bill Clinton is, he has no fear. Let's just say 2 words: Oval Office. Bill Clinton has zero fear whatsoever. This guy is brave. So I don't think he cares in the least about any of this. Okay. So come December today. So some things that we've seen today. Let's see. Housekeeper confirmed meeting Virginia Roberts, which is the former staff member, said that 2 girls who appeared underage also frequently stayed at the mansion. He told the court one was Virginia Roberts, who alleges she was forced to sleep with Prince Andrew 3 times, and the alleged victim in the trial, who uses the pseudonym Jane, asked how old Jane was when he first met her. The housekeeper said that she appeared 14 or 50. She was beautiful, beautiful eyes, long brunette hair, very pleasant. 3 times she was there with her mother, then without her mother many times. Now, I don't know about you guys as parents, but I watched the documentary on Michael Jackson and Macaulay Culkin, and that was a very I'm sorry, not Macaulay Culkin, but the boys that he allegedly abused. They were telling their story, and this was after Michael Jackson had been dead for several years. It was probably 4 years ago or so this documentary came out, and it was pretty grotesque. One of the things that I find very interesting in both this case and that case is that the parents were involved in the beginning, and all of a sudden they started sending their kids to these places without anybody. And I don't know. I don't let my kids go to places that I don't know the people personally. And I don't see, I don't get starstruck by people like celebrities. I'm not the kind of person, you can ask Quincy, I'm not the kind of person that when there's a celebrity around, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You know, I'm not that kind of person. Like, I really don't care. They're just regular people to me. And I think even more so, if they are famous, my skepticism of their safety, of if they are safe people, spikes. Because I trust celebrities much less than I trust regular, everyday Joes, right? But the fact that these parents let their kids go unattended with these people, they're grown adults. It's not like they had kids running around the house. It's not like they were like, hey, can so-and-so come over for a sleepover with my daughter? You don't send a 14-year-old to go do a sleepover with grown men. What is happening? What is happening? What is happening with that thought? Maxwell doesn't even have kids. I don't know about Epstein's child situation, but he certainly didn't have 14-year-old daughter or son running around the house. Like, hey, Dad, can we have so-and-so Jane over? That's not what was happening. So what was going through these parents' heads? This is why I said in the beginning, did they really sell their children as sex slaves? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like they sold their children into a sex ring. If you choose to leave your 14-year-old daughter at a grown man's house that doesn't even have any children, you sold your child into sex trafficking. And that's why parents are garbage. Can be garbage. Parents can be garbage because they're really the first ones to betray the trust of their children and sell them into something so heinous. Heinous crimes. There's another documentary on Amazon Prime, I believe. It was these 2 brothers whose mom was an abhorrent human being and was sex trafficking them. And something happened with the younger brother, and he ended up with amnesia. And so once he recovered, he didn't remember anything that had happened. And so the one brother carried this truth and never said anything to him. The younger brother now thought that his mom was great and his dad was great and everything was just dandy, right? And the older brother just carried it with him without saying anything because it almost brought some normalcy to the situation. And then long later, when they were adults during this documentary, the younger brother was like, tell me what happened, because he ended up finding a picture of him and his brother naked with their head cut off. He's like, what is going on? And the brother had to tell him, what you remember is not what our childhood was like. Our mom was an abhorrent individual and sold us into basically rich people. I'm convinced that rich people have to make up things to spend their money on. They're so bored that they begin spending their money on their lusts and their fetishes, right? So you can only buy so many shoes. You can only buy so many sweaters and coats and fashionable sunglasses and jewelry before none of that satisfies the lust. And the lusts start to become more deviant, right? And then you start buying children to satisfy the fetishes. There's a reason why the Bible says that money is the root of all evil. It doesn't say that money is evil. It says that money is the root of all evil. Because the root is what is disgusting. Having money, being out there, like if I had a ton of money, I would want to be digging wells for people in third world countries. I really would like to do that. There's something about clean water that really sparks my interest. I know there's a lot of work already being done out there on that, but that's what I want to do I want to dig wells and provide clean water to people. Yes, the love of money. I'm sorry. The love of money is the root of all evil. Thank you, Nana. So money in and of itself is not an evil. It's the love of money is the root of all evil, right? So these people want to go out there and they want to, they don't have anything else to do but to get power and get money. Get power and get money. Pride and money, right? And then they don't have anything to spend it on. Has anybody ever seen Brewster's Millions? I love that movie. It's super hilarious. So Brewster has he's got an old relative who dies, and in the will he leaves him these instructions. He's super, super rich, right? He leaves him these instructions. You can have 30 million if you want my inheritance. You have $30 million, but you have to spend it in 30 days. And here's the kicker. He wasn't allowed to have any assets. So he literally just had to blow $30 million in 30 days. 30 million in 30 days. And I think that it sounds like fun, but watching the movie, you can see him go from liking to blow the money to the fact, but he couldn't have any assets. So he couldn't own anything at the end, right? So he had to literally just blow it, which is what a lot of people do when they have, windfalls or something like that. A lot of people just blow the money, but they don't have anything coming after that. Once they get tired of blowing it, then they don't have anything as a backup. So he has to blow the money in 30 days, and you can see the progression of him having fun with it, but then he gets tired of it, and then he's just like, at the end, he's just like totally over it. He's like, I am done. I don't even want the money anymore. This is stupid. So you see the progression of what it's like to possibly have to spend $30 million in 30 days. And they try and set him up by making him own like some furniture or something like that. Anyways, the wealthy relative who died knew what it was like, probably to just, the idea is to know what it's like to just have money and just be spending it on crap, right? You're not spending it on anything that's helping the world or helping people. These people were literally spending money on destruction and breaking people, causing brokenness in their lives. These girls will be broken for the rest of their lives unless they find the Lord and they get, full healing. But that doesn't even happen a lot these days. So you have a lot of women a lot of these girls who are walking around just completely broken. They don't have any self-worth. They hate themselves. They go through like super bad like promiscuity or eating disorders or, just super mental issues. They're just so broken inside. And this is what these people are spending their money on. They're spending their money on destroying the human soul. It's sad. They're destroying these girls, their souls and their spirits. They're just breaking them down into nothing. And then these girls are passing it on to their daughters. Because there's something that's in the psyche that goes on. We see this in the Black community a lot. It's in the psyche. That's why we talk about mental slavery a lot, because we don't see the physical slavery anymore in our country. It's not happening. Not in this country. In other countries, physical slavery is happening. But physical slavery doesn't happen here in the Americas anymore. But we do see this mental slavery because it's in the psyche. It's like hardwired in there. This victimhood, right? This brokenness. But the same thing happens to kids who have been sexually abused. Sometimes people who have been sexually abused their own children or their nieces and nephews because they think that it's normal, right? And so they start sexually abusing their own children who think it's normal, who sexually abuse their children who think it's normal, and it goes on. And it becomes this idea that it's normal. I had a friend who grew up with pornography playing on the TV all the time. That was normal. It was just normal in their house. That's just how they thought that everybody did that. I mean, we're over here watching Paw Patrol. They're over there watching, whatever title pornography is going on that day. Like, that's what was normal in their house. So we teach our children these things. And women and men who are molested and abused young I'm not saying all of them do. There are cases it doesn't happen. But they can, porn patrol, they can pass that mentality on to their children too. And so we just have generations of brokenness. And that is a legacy. That's the legacy that a lot of people are leaving, is brokenness. And the Bible tells us that we should be creating a legacy of faith. But a lot of these times it's a legacy of brokenness. You got people out there that are spending their money on literally destroying people. I mean, what on earth? What is going on? I mean, this is all in the face of the things that are going on in the day-to-day, like, inflation and high gas prices. And yeah, that sucks. But this kind of stuff is happening on a daily basis. And if you think we're bad now, it has gotten so much worse in the last 20 years. What are we going to look like in 20 years when these people are adults and they're running the country and they think that molestation and pedophilia is normal? What is going to happen when those adults are running the country? When they think that pedophilia is normal? Normal. There's not going to be anybody to talk them out of it. Because everybody was raised like that. Not everybody, but more and more people are going to be raised like that. More and more people are going to be raised thinking it's okay for a grown person to engage with a young person. And it's not a new thing. There are other religions out there where grown men are marrying 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old girls and getting them pregnant. This is really happening today. That's why it's so odd, very interesting, that it's very interesting that I forgot what I was going to say. I hate when I do that. Well, that thought was fleeting. So that's kind of an overview of what's been going on the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. Not a whole lot that's really, I don't think that we didn't kind of already know and didn't get the gist of it, you know. Not a lot of name dropping going on. Definitely a distraction. I'm sorry. The Maxwell trial, I wouldn't say is a distraction. I'd say it's another elite waste of time. I hope that Maxwell spends the rest of her life behind jail if that's the case. But honestly, I would like Clinton to spend the rest of his life behind jail too. I would like both Mr. and Mrs. Clinton to spend the rest of their life behind jail, behind bars. And I'd like anybody else who actually participated in all of this to spend the rest of their life in jail as well. So I'm not super excited that one woman might be convicted of 80 years and die in 20. It's not super exciting to me. I'm not really hardcore celebrating that. If this whole ring doesn't come down. And I just don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think the whole ring is coming down. I don't think half of it's coming down. I don't think that, one ring of the 3-ring circus that is sex trafficking is coming down. I think this is a gigantic waste of time. And they should hurry up and get it done with, convict her, sentence her, and move on to the next thing. We're only 11 months into, we're only 11 months into a 48-month nightmare with this administration, and they're passing bills and laws that are affecting us on a daily basis. And all these people, this sex trafficking ring stuff is just going to keep going on because people aren't going to be convicted. People aren't going to be charged with anything. That's devastating. That's devastating to me. That it's just going to be her. That sucks. That really sucks. That's why I don't get super excited about this kind of stuff, The whole Q thing. Something big is coming. Something big is coming. Something big is coming. These elites don't. There's no justice. Not for these elites. They will not pay for their evils until after death. That's how I see it. They will not pay for their evils until after death. So, anyways, that's the best I could do as far as that. It's really hard to do so much reading on what's going on. There are some Twitter pages out there that give updates on this trial if you want to keep up with it. Let's see. I thought I saw, if you have Twitter, there's somebody in there making drawings. Let's see, no, what was it called? What's that Twitter page called? I'm looking for the Twitter page that has the updates. No, that's not it. There has been an Epstein compensation fund, by the way. The one victim, the Jane victim, got $2.9 million. It's pretty sad when you've got an Epstein victim fund. Like, is his $577 million just going to be sitting there until all the, in case a victim comes forth and says, hey, this is what happened to me? I mean, it's weird. Very weird. Maxwell's brother came in. There was a victim that came in to watch that I guess was abused as an adult, not as a kid. Where is that YouTube or that Twitter page? What's up? Right now. Right this second? Right this second? Kids are so funny. Kids are very funny. When they want something, they want it right now. That's not it either. Uncovering the truth. That's not it. No, that's anti. Volunteer you for what? Oh, Maxwell Trial Tracker. If you go to @Tracker Trial, you can follow along with the trial. They are updating. They are tracking the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. All major media outlets are silent on it, which we knew that was going to happen. Big named politicians are using their power within to silence the truth. It's not just big name politicians using their power to silence the truth. It's the whole entire system. Nothing's going to happen to anybody except her. So, Trial Tracker, if you're interested, on Twitter. There's like a picture of Epstein's bathroom. I don't know. How do we know that's Epstein's bathroom? A photo hanging up in Epstein's house. Why do all these elites have really odd, what they call art, when really just looks like fetish garbage? Why did Epstein have a dentist machine in his master bathroom? Why are all these pictures so blurry? I mean, people, maybe they were snapped really fast. So yeah, go to Tracker Trial on Twitter, @Tracker Trial, and look it up. On the Tracker Trial, it says that the Maxwell's attorneys have revealed the identity of Jane twice already. Ooh, that's intense. That's not good. Okay. Yeah, head over there and check out that thread. It's actually pretty good. Stay up to date on it. Epstein's visits to the Clinton White House. Quite a few visits there. How many times did Epstein visit the Trump White House? None, because 15 years ago, Trump banned him and never spoke with him again. Bill Cosby, Harry Kissinger, Chelsea Clinton, Ronald Burkle, Tony Blair, John Kerry, Alec Baldwin. Imagine that. Alec Baldwin, the guy who says he didn't shoot the gun and kill the person on the set. Ugh, you guys, what on earth? The Black Book emerges. Yeah, go to the Twitter page. All right, well, that's it for me today, guys. I've been on here probably far too long, boring everybody. Boring along. Oh my gosh, it's been almost 2 hours. An hour and 45 minutes. All right, the kids are losing their minds. They can only hold it down for so long, right? It's okay. Is Big Brother being mean? What did he do?
He didn't let me answer the phone when I knew it was Sanaya. I told him it's probably Sanaya because I caught her. And
is he talking to her right now?
Yes. He's never lets us answer the phone.
Okay. Big Brother's not being very nice, so we're gonna get on it. All right, thanks for joining me today, guys. Hey, this show is brought to you by onamericanstreets.com, and let me tell you about a couple Christmas present opportunities. My Pillow. I can tell you right now that the pillows, the sheets, the down comforter, the slippers, the towels, the dog bed, all amazing products. So our dog never even touched the kennel. I'm not going to say never. She did touch the kennel. But once I put the dog bed in the kennel, she goes in there and just hangs out. It's like her safe space. So we don't put her in there all the time, except when we have like company and she loses her whole mind. And so we have to put her in there just to till she calms down with new company or whatever. Which, by the way, I wish I knew how to train dogs. I do not know how to train dogs. But once I put the bed in, now she goes in there and just hangs out all the time. I did not know until I knew that My Pillow made dog beds, and she absolutely loves hers. Also, the slippers. And when I tell you they're amazing, I wear mine all. I'm wearing mine right now because I love them. I love that they have this hard on the bottom, so I can actually go outside in them, like get the mail or walk to the car or whatever. So comfortable. I got the moccasins, and then Quincy has the slip-ons. So comfortable. I absolutely love them. And I'm not even a slippers person. I don't do slippers. Quincy wears slippers. Like, he won't be caught without shoes on of some sort. So if it's not his tennis shoes, it's his slippers. And so he goes from his tennis shoes to his slippers. And then when he gets out of the shower, he has to put on flip-flops. Like, so his feet are never without something on them, which is so crazy to me. But yeah, so anyways, the slippers are it's super comfortable, and I never wore them until I actually got My Pillow slippers. And then the pillows are amazing because you can wash them. Now, let me tell you about that, because we have a lot of people in our house, and I have bought pillows for years. They get dirty, and then every time I try and wash them, they come out of the dryer and they're all lumpy, and you sleep on them and there's like a lump that's in your head. You got a headache. It's just all bad. And then they just get super flat. I mean, they're like as flat as this notebook. Just so ridiculous. So that's one of the things I absolutely love about the My Pillows, is that I can wash them. I can totally wash them. They get all fluffed up. They're not all uncomfortable after you wash them. And I don't have to constantly be buying new pillows. And if you get good pillows, you're spending at least $14, $15, $19.99 for a really good pillow, but then it falls flat. Then you can't even wash it, so you have to spend another $20 on a pillow. And I used to buy cheap pillows because I'm not spending $100 for 4 pillows that I'm going to have to spend $100 for pillows again in 6 months, 6 to 8 months, right? So I would buy the cheap pillows, like when Kohl's would have a sale, and I get like 10 pillows for $5 a piece. That's how I used to buy pillows. But now we have My Pillows. I can wash them, and I'm super stoked about that. I absolutely love them, and they're comfortable, so that makes it all good. The sheets are absolutely amazing, and I'm not really a big thread count snob. Like, if you are, I'm not calling you a snob. I'm just saying. They're soft without being like super slippery, right? So I don't like silk and satin sheets because they're too slippery. Like, I don't like slippering around my bed. It just, and then if your feet aren't like manicured, or your nails are, anything could happen. Then you're snagging the sheets and this and that. I just can't do silk and satin sheets. But these sheets are so soft, and yet they're not super slippery. It's just like this really great balance between the two. The down comforter, absolutely amazing. And I actually got the waffle style quilt to go over the top of the down comforter, because I didn't want the down comforter to get dirty. It's a lot easier to wash the quilt than it is to wash the down comforter. But the down comforter, it's thin, but it's like so warm. I have to turn the fan on at night, which I like sleeping with a fan on at night anyway. And thankfully my fan has a timer, so that makes it super easy. I set it for like an hour or two, and it goes off on its own, which, by the way, that's something you guys should invest in too. If you like having fans on, but then like halfway through the night you get super cold, get a fan with a timer. I am telling you, it is amazing. It's changed my life. And that's not a My Pillow thing. That's a get a fan with a timer thing. And I can put a link to that in the description box if you're interested. It's just amazing. I absolutely love my fan with a timer on it. Although the other night I set my fan for 2 hours, it went off, and then I woke up and I had to turn it on again. I set it for like an hour, and I'd get up and I set it for another hour. But anyways, I absolutely love it. And most of the nights I don't have to do that. But anyways, so what did I talk about? Oh, and the towels. The towels are amazing. They're nice and big. But they're also like thin enough to dry. So I have these other really big towels, which I absolutely love, but they're really thick. And if you like those kind of towels, that's great. I do like those kind of towels, but the place that we're in, our bathroom is like in the back corner of our apartment, and so the ventilation isn't amazing. And we take a lot of showers per day because we've got 8 people in the house, right? So that's kind of a lot of showers per day. So even though we do hang our towels, since the ventilation is not spectacular and we take a lot of showers per day, it takes longer for the towels to dry, right? So if you're not a person who uses a different towel every single time you take a shower, then either way, these towels are great, but it's probably not as big a deal for you. But the people who don't change their towel every single time they take a shower, you want it to dry by the time you use it next time. And they're really big towels, but they're not super thick. And so I love that about them too. So I could go on and on about the products because I use a lot of the products and I absolutely love them. So I could go on and on about them. But you know what? Mike Lindell is an amazing guy. And he's, a true patriot, and he's a Christian, and he's really built his business. His testimony is amazing. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He worked for his business. He created these things, and he came out of a really hard place in life and came to where he's at. And Facebook and Twitter and all these social media platforms banned him so that he couldn't even run ads anymore. And so to support him is to support a fellow patriot, a fellow Christian who believes not in victimhood, because if he had been walking in victimhood, he wouldn't be where he's at today. Instead, he believed in victory. And to support him is to support all of us in this idea that victory matters and we all can if we work hard enough. So absolutely love him. If you go to mypillow.com, use code BCP, we will get something if you purchased with our link, but it doesn't cost you any more whatsoever. It's just supporting Mike and supporting us as well, and supporting you with amazing products. So Christmas is coming up. The shipping is super fast. I really appreciate it. So if that's something that interests you, and also My Patriot Supply, take a look at that with Prepare with BCP. The link is in the description if you're looking for emergency food kits. I'm looking forward to ours getting here because with inflation and the change in everything, that's a whole nother long thing. I won't go into that right now. But anyways, check the link out in the box. preparewithbcp.com and mypillow.com. Use BCP in the comment section in the checkout. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today and talking about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and there will be more. This is slated to last for 6 weeks, so we definitely will have more to talk about over the weeks, and I'll try to get the information together better than I did today because I was just kind of rambling on. So anyways, I really appreciate you guys, and I am going to keep trying to go live on my channel instead of the BC Preacher channel. So if you're on Facebook and you're on BC Preacher, please look up FranklyJamee, FranklyJamee. It's FranklyJamee on Facebook, and hopefully I'll see you guys there next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time.